Hello, everybody. This is a debrief for the self-awareness activity that I posted for last week, for the week of the 7th of July. And as I was going over this, I realized there was something even bigger that came up. Let me recap. The cards that we pulled were, the contemplation card was love. The energy you were being asked to embrace was quantum leap of faith. And basically love coming from the center of you, as opposed to being parceled out. And how did that play out in your life? Quantum leap of faith, acting as though everything you were doing was the best decision and that there was divine influence supporting you to your greatest possible landing. And cognitive distortions, where are you speaking in ways that are exaggerations, not factual, things that, oh, look at that, things that are basically perhaps opinions and feelings rather than actual facts. So if you want to check into those cards, I've posted them in the self-awareness activity for July 7th. But what really struck me interestingly as I was doing this was how much do cognitive distortions about faith get in the way of us actually living a faithful life? And what does living a faithful life even mean? And the reason that I'm addressing it like this, and why I'm really going to make a point of this particular thing, is because as I was getting ready to do this, it was really spirit talking. And what I was getting as I was doing this was that because the language of spirituality has been put into such a romanticized version and almost a fairy tale version through all of the stories, the allegories, the metaphors, it often leads people who are looking for a feeling and can't get it through that imagery, or who associate that imagery with just stories, that in some ways it has prevented people from really touching into the truth, the essence of what those stories are about, the mystical traditions, the mystical truths, the esoteric aspect of what religion is trying to present. Because, of course, we tend to associate those stories with religions. Now, the thing about that I find really interesting is if the stories that are meant to bring us into an understanding of faith and into a deeper sense of love at a central place, what does it take then for us to move beyond that? And it struck me, it's the giving up of cognitive distortions. The other thing about cognitive distortions is speaking in absolutes, right? I have nothing to wear. That's the example I typically use. I have nothing to wear. Well, I have a whole closet full of clothes. The truth is I don't really feel like wearing any of them right now. I'm bored of them. I'd like something new. Totally different image, totally different energy. Well, what if we stop speaking in absolutes about God, about faith, about religion, about spirituality? What if we start reclaiming that and using different words? What if we start using sacred? Because that is something that is more aligned with spiritual traditions that are based in nature. What if we start using language like, I don't know if God's even there. I know I feel something, but I don't know if I would define it as God, because the word God now brings up all of these different impressions that may not be linked to how you feel something sacred. There's just such an interesting way to look at this now. So I'm presenting this to you as a debrief, and I may actually even give it a different title. I don't know. But I think it's really, really relevant at this point in time, because as the world, now I didn't know I was going to say this, as the world is being partitioned into different parties and conflicts and contrary ideas, that's when people tend to speak in absolutes. That's when people tend to use cognitive distortions to try to sway people to believe and act in accordance with the way any particular group wants them to. It's really only by moving beyond the cognitive distortions and speaking fact that we can actually get in touch with what that means inside of our own heart, whether or not that aligns with a truth we feel. Because it's all about feeling. It's all about getting in touch with that sense that something is true. Not because someone tells us it is, but because we feel that. And this is where we are going. This is what spiritual evolution is about. This is what spiritual consciousness, expanding consciousness is about. It's moving beyond the mind that is going to be ruled by, language structure and words and phrases that are designed to create opposition and conflict. When you are speaking a truth that aligns with your heart, that is not going to be a time when you are going to be supporting all of the horrific things we're seeing against humanity, against humans in general, but certainly against the groups that are less empowered already. It behooves the people who are trying to control humans for their own agenda to speak in cognitive distortions, because it prevents people from zeroing in on truth. So it's up to us as individuals who wish to bring forth truth, compassion, and unity on this planet to be consciously aware of our cognitive distortions, especially around faith and love, because this is where we are going to understand what we stand for, what we support, and we're going to channel that truth in our frequency and onto the planet. Through how we behave, through how we deal with people, through how we deal with the environment, and through the energy we choose to put into the cosmic consciousness, the group consciousness of this planet. So I think I'm going to make this just a group message for all signs, because I believe this is what Spirit really wanted me to say today. And they've been knocking on my door for a while to do this. And it started to come through as I was doing the debrief. So here you go, my friends. It's both things all together. And I'm going to leave you with that, and take care.